Hello and welcome. Good day to you, and I hope you're having a great day no matter where you're at. I am Anthony Blackwell, and I'm from IMSM. We do ISOs, we're ISO specialists, ISOs, ISO, International Standard of Operations. I'm joined by my colleagues, Maria, Jay, and Pamela, and we are going to be talking about ISO 45001 today. And how that works, occupational health and safety, and how it can work for you and how it has worked for us in the past, and how to get going with ISOs, really. So if anybody wants to jump in here, let's get it going.
Great, guys. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks for joining. Aside from 45001, Anthony actually suggested that we should have a look at 45005, which is another standard complementing the 45,000 family, and it is very specific to COVID and how to manage health and safety at work now that we're massively heading back to the office and all facilities, work-related facilities. So, hi Jay, hi Pamela.
Hi.
Hi Maria.
Jay, you brought earlier a question, and we actually decided to talk about during the session.
Yeah.
Will we get started with that one?
Sure. Yeah. So 45001, the ISO standard for health and safety. I think you guys did a webinar on it last week, and you've had a live session before, but real quick for anyone that's new out there, it's fairly new, and it replaced the VHS 18001. One of the great aspects for us in the US market here about it is that it was developed with input directly from OSHA, which was often a complaint, I guess, with the previous standard, that it wasn't as applicable to US companies, manufacturers, whatever, and it is now. So one of the questions that I had for Maria, because I know a lot of companies out there have their own safety system in place on programs or whatever. I've done a lot of work, safety coaching in the oil and gas industry, and I know, for example, stop cards are everywhere, right? So my question to her was, if you have a program like that in place, whether that's in your industry, mandated by your industry, or something that you paid other consultants to bring into you, or something you've developed yourself, can that still be a part of your ISO 45001?
Oh, thank you, Jay, for the question. An excellent question indeed. Before I answer it, let me just get back to your initial point with regards to ISO 45001. Indeed, it's a new standard. It's the first international standard. This is why it is applicable in 165 countries. And you mentioned OSHA's, which is a British standard. It's local. And Anglo-Saxon speaking countries actually adopted it for a better use. But you're right, it wasn't well suitable to the US, for instance, or other kind of countries. So the ISO launched in 2018, ISO 45001, and with a transition period of 3 years, now extended until the end of this year because of COVID. So we'll find that ISO 45001 is actually a comprehensive set of guidelines to better protect health and safety, including mental health, etc. So answering your question, if a company already has a system into place, and stop cards is a very good example, it can be easily integrated into 45001. It is part of the system, so it's wider than only that. But indeed, if you have anything into place, it's gonna fit nicely within that very comprehensive guidance. We've already seen how it works in many companies.
Great. So what I hear you saying is you wouldn't be replacing what you've already been doing. You're adding on to.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I would just add on to that I think that anytime when we go into a company, and a lot of places have an SOP in place and some places don't. And I'm always surprised that sometimes you'll find a company that's been around for 50 years and they don't have an SOP or anything. And sometimes you'll be in there, and I've gone into companies that have like 13 people and they're just starting and they need to get ISOs. And this is how that works. But one of the things that happens with these types of systems is that anytime you have like an SOP, or if you don't have an SOP, what we do is work that into your system. So as long as we're looking at it and it does not go against, like, it's not illegal or it's not like against the standard or something, everything can be put into the batch. So it's like, oh yes, you're doing this, you're doing stop cards or whatever it is that you're doing. Everything can go right into your 45,000 protocol. Everything will be written up and these will become like your policies and procedures. So maybe you have outlined or identified different things. And if you have that person has outlined or identified different things, then the goal is to write this down and to standardize it and make this the regular practice.
Absolutely. And by the way, Pamela yesterday raised a very interesting point about the ISO 45001 applicability. Sorry. Someone can help me with the word, please? Applicability.
Applicability, yeah.
Thank you.
One of the things that I was going to mention as well are a couple things. With OSHA and their fines, and Jay was one when I first came on board with IMSM who really helped me understand this, was for the fact that if you do implement 45,001, your fines from OSHA would be greatly decreased because you do have that certification. So that was a very good draw for a very large account of mine that I had signed up to IMSM last month for 30 locations worldwide. And they actually have done their own internal studies to actually prove to themselves that it actually saved them. It was like with all of their 30 locations, over $250,000 in fines. So the cost for the certification, it was greatly outweighed by the savings on the fines. And they're a manufacturing plant. Well, all of them, they're manufacturing plants. So when I actually toured their facilities, because they actually, well, two of their facilities that are near me, they already have gotten last year 14,001 for environmental safety. So this was an easy transition. So the ISO certification process was not foreign to them. But when I went through their facilities were so clean and impeccable that you could eat off the ground. And I'm not kidding. You never saw a thread or anything anywhere. But, if we are able to understand for the manufacturing process and also construction, as we've had discussion with, this is a no-brainer. Every company that has people working where there could be danger, which is almost everywhere. I don't know of a facility, any kind of manufacturing or construction facility, where there's no way that somebody can get hurt. So that's why I feel out of all of our standards that we have, when you have employees, that this is a no-brainer, that you just have to have this in place.
Absolutely. On top of that, the ISO has conducted a study which says that insurance primes go down for companies that have implemented an ISO 45000 compliant system.
I have it directly from a Cal OSHA person that I met at a trade show a couple years ago now, when we could still go to trade shows. She flat out told me if any of her clients got 45,001, that their rates would go down. Now, she couldn't tell me by how much. No one ever can or will, because they like to keep that information guarded. But if you are considering 45,001, absolutely call your workers' comp insurance person tell them you're considering that and ask them how much your rate will go down, because it will.
Definitely. On top of that, the International Organization of Labor has calculated that there are 2.78 million, sorry, that's per year because of work-related accidents, and nearly 400 million non-fatal injuries again. So they have also calculated that 99% of those can be prevented.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, so I
That's
guess
amazing.
if you're looking at like the insurance and just the accidents and the violations, that's a lot there too, and it's something that can easily be done. And I think that as Pamela was saying, it's something that can be done in any industry. And one of the great things about like IMSM is that although it's an international company, we're always local. We're all here from different parts of the country and different parts of the world, so it's always local. And we can come in and we understand the situation that's happening. So different people, they do different things. I was saying about the construction industry, and one of the guys that I worked with here at the construction industry, he came from Italy, and he was working with a company here in New York. And he was the one that said, let's get ISOs in there. It's like, so it's always like something that is really important. And he was particularly interested in like the ISO 45001. And I can't think of any place that I know of where there is more construction happening than New York City.
By the way, the ISO standards are great, and the ISO as an organization is very flexible. For instance, 45005, the COVID-related, was issued last year to complement the 45001. So it's guidance, and you guys know how important guidance is to improve through the PDCA cycle, internal systems. So we highly recommend to companies, to organizations, to have a look at 45005, which is currently available for free on the ISO website under COVID resources.
So if you have an opportunity to get anything for free and it works as well as this, then you take it. And certainly, I mean, like this is the time when we're talking about COVID. And when we talk about COVID, people are rushing out to get shots and to do different things to stay safe. And when people going back to work, it really affects everyone's the psychology, their psyche. They're just like, people are nervous, they're anxious, they want to go back to work, but at the same time they want to be protected, they want to be safe. And ISO 45005 is a good way to do it.
Absolutely, we'll be talking more extensively next month about 45005, and here just bringing up a couple of things that are interesting to see. So the guidance is comprehensive, and it covers different aspects. For instance, when it comes to COVID suspected or confirmed cases, we have 3 different scenarios and guidance for each of those. And as Anthony says, guys, it's interesting to see that psychological health and psychological well-being are also considered under 45005. So it's really, really great tool to be used for free and get it done by all organizations that may be listening to us today.
One other thing about whether it be 45001 or 45005, it actually builds with your employees a cohesiveness of thinking. And what I have found from speaking with clients that have done 45001 is it brings a higher level of synergy of employees thinking of other employees and safety and health. So it builds that cohesiveness that they did not have prior to that.
You're talking about a safety culture, right, Pamela?
Correct. Absolutely, 100%.
When I was working in the oil industry, we talked a lot about safety culture, and there were 3 kinds, right? There was a dependent, meaning I, the worker, depend on you, the manager, to keep me safe. An independent, meaning I'll take care of myself, and an interdependent, meaning we'll take care of each other. And that's what you just described to me. So, and that's the goal of any organization to reach within their safety cultures, to be interdependent, where everyone's looking out for each other in a positive way.
Yeah, indeed.
Absolutely.
5001 again, and the expression of what we've just discussed is that clause talking about consultation, workers and worker representatives consultation and involvement into the process.
Yeah,
Very nice thing to consider and under the standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess anytime that we have that, and we get everybody on the same page, and it always starts, like we say, with the management, and that if management buys into it, then everybody can buy into it. But when you start that and you have that interdependence and you have that type of culture, you build that people know, because if you one person, when you're Pamela was talking about like all the violations and having it dropped down when people did have 45,001. And I'm sure certainly like whenever you have the 45,005 and we're talking about COVID, that you just want people to feel safe and comfortable at work, and to be able to know that like the institution that they work at, whether it's a one person or two people, or no matter how many people is, that they have like policies and procedures in place to protect them, so that people aren't becoming like that people don't have COVID, or people aren't, or everyone's complying and people are doing that. And when you make that culture, as Jay was saying, then you build the culture and it works.
The nice thing too about this ISO code 45001 or 45005, it doesn't matter how many employees you have. You could have 10 employees, but they're working with heavy machinery or working in the warehouse and using a lot of different types of equipment. Or you can have 1,000 employees. It doesn't matter, because if you can get into that mindset of this matters for your employees and for your own company, get on that bandwagon. Like I said before, the benefits outweigh, the expense for it. But also, when I talk to some potential accounts considering this or considering going with IMSM with this, they say, well, normal objection is, well, I've run my business for 20 years without it. Right. And I've had very minimal problems. But then if you go through all of the additional things that all of us, Jay and Anthony and Maria and I, have gone over, the benefits outweigh any cost, because of the fact that, you're looking at, with the insurance decrease for workers' comp, the OSHA fines decreased substantially, and then that cohesiveness of thinking for that interdependency and the thinking and the philosophy of your corporation. And that's key, because a lot of corporations are so disjointed with the different departments and with their thinking that they don't advance as fast as they should in certain capacities, to where if all of the VPs and managers and supervisors were all on the same page, they'd get to their goals and obtain their goals faster.
Absolutely. It's based on feedback, and workers and stakeholders are the first ones who can see what's happening and give us relevant and reliable feedback. When it comes to reading in the news what's wrong with our company, it's kind of late to make any further steps.
Yeah. Right.
It.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. Shall we wrap it up quickly? Yeah.
That's great. Great chat.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Shall we schedule another one on any topic any soon? Maybe in a couple of weeks, talking cybersecurity?
Cybersecurity is always the best one, and it's always something that's going around. So when people aren't talking about COVID, they're talking about cybersecurity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's,
yes, they're related right now for sure.
They're related right now. So really, we can do it in a couple of weeks or 3. A nice talk on cybersecurity. So yeah,
Sounds
I'm
great.
looking forward
Great.
to it.
Great.
All right.
Likewise.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Martin,
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.